I adore my 1971 Honda N600. And you know this is true because I've spent the last 4 years of my life fully restoring every nut and bolt on this car with the help of some very talented people. However, my love for this car as of late has not been reciprocal. I've broke down about 12 times in the 300 miles I put on it, and nearly all of these instances have been due to one thing: my charging system. So today I will show you how I installed an alternator and an electric fan on this car. It is not a definitive guide, it's just my experience. First things first, all of the old stuff has to go. We are going to start on the left side of the bay with our voltage regulator. The voltage regulator has been an issue for me in the past. They are mechanical typically. I've replaced it with an electric one, still no good. With that said, my assistant here is pointing out our next component that has to be removed. It is the rectifier. The job of the rectifier is basically to convert the AC energy that comes out of the engine into DC energy so it can be used by your car. It is old, crusty, disgusting, and archaic, and it must be destroyed. Next, we are going to be heading on top of the motor where we are preparing to remove the entire intake system. Kicking off with the vacuum line that runs to our brake booster. We are going to put that to the side, then get our 10 millimeter out and take off what is essentially the intake manifold. It is two bolts that hold the tube that link the carburetor to the engine. After this is completed, we are going to take the actual air box off, again, two 10 millimeter or 12 millimeters. Pull the box to the side. You will not have to disconnect the wires. Why make your life hard? Now we are going to gravitate towards our mechanical fan. It is held on using only four studs. Once again, 10 millimeter heads, if I remember correctly. Once you remove these four studs in all four corners, move away the throttle cable, the speedometer cable, remove the pulley, and you can take the entire assembly. I think it's worth noting that when you're dealing with an air-cooled motor, it is just as important to get hot air out as it is to get cold air in. Changing the scenery and moving outside, again, we are met with our mechanical fan and our mechanical fan shroud. Take your Sharpie, make a nice line all the way around. It should look something like this. This is where we will be cutting so that we can mate the electric fan to this area. First things first, remove the hardware. 10 millimeters all around. Take these three things off. You'll thank me later. What I did next is I took my angle grinder, made a plunge cut. That way I can use my reciprocating saw, which is a lot faster. Now, everything was going well until I realized 20% of the way through the job, it would make a lot more sense to actually remove the inner mechanism for the fan, so that's what I did. The five spokes that hold in the pulley, I cut them all with the grinder, which not only was quick and easy, but also left me with the most satisfying hammer hit of all time. Moving forward, I am going to continue my cut until the piece is gone. We are going to grind everything nice, flat, and smooth so that this shroud can accept our new electric fan modification. Now, there's different ways to mount this fan. There's many different ways, actually. I'm lucky at my job. One of my coworkers was nice enough to basically TIG weld and tap and die supports. So my install looks very professional. But before that, I was fully prepared to just buy some heat-resistant JB weld and attach it that way and be done with it. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do this. As you can see, the holes line up exactly. I would recommend tapping and dyeing this with smaller hardware. You probably don't need the TIG welding. Mine came out very nice, so if you have the means, I would try. Taking the party back inside, we are going to reinstall our fan shroud. It goes in just the same way and takes up a little bit less volume than it even did before, believe it or not. Do not forget the bushings front and rear and the washers. Make it nice. At the bottom here, you could see your pulley. Right above that, that bolt is where you're going to mount the bottom of your alternator arm. Yes, it is for a Chevy. Very strange, but it works, I promise. There are only two more bolts that hold this system in place. One here that holds the alternator to the arm, and then there's actually a bolt that goes through the alternator into the motor. This ensures that there's no movement whatsoever between the two entities, keeping your belt nice and tight at all times. Now that all the hardware has been installed, it's time to button up our project. We're going to be talking about wiring. As the name one wire alternator suggests, it is literally one power wire that runs from the back of the alternator to the positive terminal on the battery. Think about fusing it with an 80 gauge while you do it. The electric fan is fairly simple as well. You're going to plug the power wire into ignition. So that means when the car is either in accessory mode or on, the fan will be on. And then, of course, your negative, you're just going to hook it up to the battery. Make sure you fuse this one with a 30 or a 20. It's worth noting that this part of the airbox right here was lifted up by the alternator, and I wound up scratching my hood and my airbox. So if you go at the same position as me, you're going to want to trim off that little circle on the bottom. The purpose of the hardware that you're cutting off is basically a summer-winter setting for your carburetor. Basically changes the amount of airflow. My mechanism was broken, so I didn't cry when I chopped it off. With that said, that's pretty much the process. I appreciate you sticking around. If you learned something, that's great. If you watch this just for entertainment purposes, I do feel sorry for you. If you have any questions, leave something in the description. The car runs at 14.6 volts, goes down the road, and drives great. Now I'm having brake booster problems, so there's always something. Stick around for more videos.